Thank you very much. This is my first public speaking, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time. CCSPD, better known as Concord Community Schools Police Department. I had a picture I brought, but no big deal. So I have been with the Concord Police Department for a little over a year now. And during the course of the year, there were some pretty big changes within our police department. I came on with an officer named Darren Tucker and the former chief, Chief Nick Minder, who maybe some of you might know. He's pretty well known in the Concord community. I was brought on as a police officer, and I currently work K through 6, so I get the little ones. And so we're going through the course of the year, and about midway through the year, Officer Tucker decided to go into the private sector and took a job with Lippert in the management program. So mid-year, Officer Tucker leaves, and then 3 months later, Chief Minder comes to me and says, "I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid, John. I'm resigning and I'm leaving the department." So he went on to work at one of the Grand Design up in Middlebury, I believe. I'm still learning the area. I'm from South Bend. So he's leaving, and I had been there for less than a year. Although I do have some police experience, I knew that I loved the job. And right before he walked out the doors, he said, "If you're interested, I know Dan Funston, the superintendent, really enjoys what you're doing so far. He respects your resume, and if you would want to consider taking the chief spot, then you could definitely have that conversation with him." So this all is taking place during the course of one day and an 8-hour shift, by the way. And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking to myself, well, this is supposed to be my retirement job. I love being K through 6. I come to work, I play basketball. I'm all-time quarterback in the playground, and I absolutely love the little ones. And do I really want to take on this responsibility? Well, I called my boss, who's my wife of 30 years. And I said, "Well, honey, now Nick's leaving." She already knew Tucker was leaving. And she's like, I'm like, "Now Mr. Funston's interested in me becoming chief." And her exact words were, "I have to work all summer. You do whatever you want." So I took that to heart, and I thought about it for a few more minutes and walked across the street to the Ed Center, had a good conversation with Mr. Funston, and here I am. I am now the chief of police for Concord Schools. So then I had the responsibility of bringing on 2 new police officers for Concord. So that was my first task. And right now, as we speak, we're now back up to 3 police officers for the police department. And that's usually what the standard is for Concord. I'll touch on a little bit that in a little bit. Eric Schumann, he works the high school. He is a 10-year veteran of the Elkhart County Sheriff's Department. He is a 10-year veteran of the Elkhart Sheriff's Department. He worked 7 years on the street, 3 years in DB doing cases for the Detective Bureau. He was also an evidence tech for the Detective Bureau while he was working for them. So I brought him on. He's been here about 3 or 4 months. He is doing a great job at the high school. He's already making great relationships with the kids at the high school. He's the youngest of the 3 of us, and his motor's always going, and I appreciate his efforts. So Eric's at the high school. So then I went on another recruiting tour, and I sought out as many people as I could for this position, because I knew since I was chief, I wasn't going to give up my K through 6 because I love my little ones, and I was going to stay with the little ones. So I needed somebody for the middle school. After a long search, I went back to my grassroots in South Bend, and I picked up Al Belinsky, who is a 27-year veteran of the South Bend Police Department. He is a third-generation police officer, 17 years as a SWAT member, 3 years of, he was also a DA liaison for the drug unit that I was in during my time at South Bend, and he's also a field training officer. So those are my three officers, well, my two officers, including myself, that are now part of CCSPD, and I'm looking forward to the future. So going back to the start of CCSPD, it started in 2017, and the former chief that I had mentioned, Nick Minder and Darren Tucker, were the, I guess you can say, the founding fathers of this little police department. They worked there, they literally built it from the ground up, and without boring you with details, to put together a police department, even if it's connected with a school corporation, after looking at the mounds of paperwork after Nick left, it was incredible to see the time and energy that he did to put together this police department, and did an outstanding job. So I'm basically just here to carry on the torch and do the best I can. The department is funded partially by a grant every year that is given out by other school districts, and there was just recently a news article in the ELKR Truth regarding the grant that was given out to the different school corporations that have policemen in them, or SROs. So we're kind of funded a little bit by them. That's a huge part of our funding, along with the contributions that the school district puts in. Kind of a neat fact that I recently looked up while I've been chief. There's 13 other school districts in the state of Indiana that have their own police department, and but to kind of brag about what we have here at Concord, and one that I absolutely love is Concord is the only school district in the state of Indiana that has 3 full-time police officers. The rest of the 13 jurisdictions or school corporations only have 1. And Concord, they really are concerned, or not concerned, but they're at the forefront of keeping kids safe in our schools, especially the times that we live in. Concord, or the CCSPD, also has an agreement with the sheriff, who I've met a few times. Nick introduced me to him. Great sheriff, great guy. We have an agreement with him. It's called an MOU, which normally school corporation police departments usually have while they work within a county, such as Elkhart County. And that's how we have an agreement. With this agreement, we're allowed to carry out police functions if we were to need to, like, run radar on an adjacent street by the schools or what have you, or to actually work within his county. Which also brings me to the next point, which I've somewhat already informed you about. All 3 of us are still active police officers in the state of Indiana. We're still certified. We still have police powers, arresting powers, and such. And between the 3 of us, more so for me and Al, we have 70 years of police experience. We're also all certified by the National Association of School Resource Officers, better known as NASRO. It's a great organization. They certify all the SROs for police departments, school police departments within actually nationwide, but they have a great chapter for Indiana when it comes to training and resources like of such. Along with their teachings, we go by three pillars of education when it comes to a police officer working in the school setting. And those 3 pillars are: we want to be a law counselor, we want to be a law educator, and then lastly, we want to be a law officer. And I tell the kids, I've now that I've gone through almost a portion of an entire school year. I've spoken to every class there is, from more so junior high to high school. I have other little conversations I have with my little one. Um, we really stand by those three pillars, and we take the counselor portion of it pretty seriously, because if we come into contact with a student, whether it is a possible criminal thing that may have happened to them or what they have done, uh, we work hand in hand with the school administration, and we kind of come at it as a double prong approach, where we try to support this student, we try to counsel them, and then my normal talk with a student that's come into contact with us, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, more so bad. I tell that student, this is not, whatever happened today is not going to define you. We want you to succeed. We want you to graduate, and we want to see you walk across that stage and get your diploma from Concord. And then lastly, with that, the law officer, if we have to step, and this is what I tell the kids, if we have to step into that law enforcement arena, then we will do so, and we'll still be fair. We'll still be conscious of what it may have happened, and still try and be that counselor and educator. But we will have, if we have to, we'll have to step into that law enforcement ring and arena and deal with what's going on with that student. First and foremost, our mission statement, if you would, is to keep kids safe. And I'm sure it's something that goes unsaid, or doesn't really have to be said with the climate and the world that we live in. And as chief, that's my number one priority. And I know I have two other officers that will go to great lengths to keep our kids safe and do whatever we have to do to keep kids safe. Secondly, building relationships with the kids. And I got to tell you, I was by myself in the district last year when Officer Tucker and Chief Minder, went on to their new jobs. So I was basically by myself in the district, going from one school to another, wherever needed, putting out fires here and there. But I really got to experience how easily it is to build a relationship with these students, and how eager these students are to have relationships with the police department or police officer. Even if those kids, and I can speak for experience, even if those kids have had bad experiences in the community with the police, however that may have happened, it's unbelievable how quickly, and the high fives and the selfies and the "you're my favorite police officer," how quickly those conversations come to, and how quickly you hear these things coming from the kids as you work in the schools. And it's just an absolute joy to be doing this job at Concord. Some of the duties that we do, I've kind of touched on a little bit already. Obviously, we investigate any type of crimes that might happen. I know that probably a lot of you here remember the days of, and along with myself, when I went with my dad. I know there's somebody here that's from South Bend that remember the old DARE days, and I can't remember the zoo on Ewing Street now. There was a specific park in South Bend, and the DARE program back in the 70s or what have you built this little town, and they had go-karts back then. And my dad would take me over there to the DARE officers, and we'd drive around this little neighborhood in this little pretend, they had McDonald's and everything. Anyway, I got off track, sorry. I'm a very unformal speaker. Anyway, going back to those days, it's a little bit different now, and we don't really have a criteria like Dare did back in the day when we go in there every day into a class and speak about A, B, and C. NASRO kind of encourages to go into the classrooms and just have basic conversations. And along with the things that we deal with right now, digital citizenship, which is, I ask the kids to be good citizens when it comes to their laptops and their personal computers and their phones. We kind of go into that arena with teaching kids about that, teaching kids about staying safe. Now we have vaping and everything else that goes in with the vaping and the dangers of. So yeah, I went off on a tangent, didn't I? So yeah, we conduct, like I said, criminal investigations. We also do canine searches in the parking lots and in the classroom, classroom, because we have hardly used lockers anymore, which was kind of weird to me when I first got there. I don't use lockers, and oh well, it's something I'm learning with the new job. Another thing that I've kind of started now was we now give out, it's called an Outstanding Citizenship Award, and we've given out 2 so far. And it's an award that I really don't want to, just hand out type of thing. One of the, and I guess I can, well, as long as I don't say the name, because I'm still learning what you can and can't say when it comes to school kids and stuff like that. But one of the first kids that got one of these Outstanding Citizenship Awards was at the junior high, and we had a fight in the hallway. And instead of breaking out his phone and starting to videotape, which is a thing, this kid actually kind of did his best to break it up and kind of hugged the kid and kind of just rode him to the ground and stepped in and really helped us out before Officer Dolitsky got there. So he was our first award-winning award winner for our Outstanding Citizenship Award. And what we give out it's called a challenge coin. A challenge coin is a symbol, I guess you can say, in the law enforcement community that it means a lot. It means that you're going above and beyond, and you're really trying to work hard at that type of thing. So during that moment in time, as I usually do, as I do shoot from the hip, I thought to myself, hey, I'm going to give this kid a challenge coin for what he did. So I did that, and it kind of turned into this Outstanding Citizenship Award. And we've also given out one to a student at the high school. The future for CCSPD, I hope the 3 of us stay together for a long period of time, because I really don't want to have to keep go through the whole hiring process again. I think I do have 2 guys that are going to stick with us for a long period of time, and building a relationship. So that's the key, along with keeping our kids safe. And I recently got interviewed by WSBT, and even though it kind of sounded like a loaded question at the time, the interviewer asked me about, there's people out there that don't believe that the police should be in schools. And our PR person was standing behind her, and she froze. She's like, oh, what was he gonna say? And I thought about it, and it's really simple. If everybody has the right to their own opinion, absolutely. That's why we live in America. But I'm telling you what, if anybody of those people that don't believe that police should be in schools, come spend a day with me. Come spend 1 hour, come spend 2 hours with me at an elementary school. And if you still don't believe that police belong in schools, I don't know, I guess it's still your opinion. I appreciate you letting me come by and listening to my informal speech and my first formal public speech. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any questions for us?
Yes, go ahead.
Most of us never thought about school police forces until the tragedy involving Texas.
Right.
The Texas, the police force in Uvalde, the school police force appeared to be drastically undertrained and inexperienced for the tragedy that they faced, which is increasingly more common now, which is mass shootings. God forbid that should ever happen in one of our schools, but are you guys prepared and how are you prepared?
Chief, could you come back?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Even though
I was gonna start.
moving, we think it's still recording you.
Oh.
We'll get this on there, so.
Oh, okay. Great question. Thank you for that question. Yes, we are prepared. And I have been involved in 3 officer involved shootings during my time in South Bend. And I have selected the officers that work with me hand in hand. That was my #1 priority, is to pick 2 officers, whoever they might be, that I know that are ready for the challenge that might lay ahead if those types of situations happen. We had a NASRO conference this last summer, and the entire conference was asking the SROs and the police officers in the crowd, are you ready for these challenges? And I can tell you, as I'm standing here as chief of police for Concord Schools, we are ready and we've already prepared. We're always preparing, we're always training. And absolutely, we are ready to take on whatever challenge might come about if there is an active shooter in one of my schools. Yes, sir.
I don't recall where it was, but just over the last week, there was the video going around where the police officer was breaking up a fight at the school. And another kid came in and bear hugged him, threw him to the officer to the ground and started getting into a scuffle.
Is it the Concord?
No, this is on national.
Oh, okay. I think I recall what you're talking about.
It's over like the last week.
Mhm.
This happened, and I'm just curious how, because sometimes like in some of these bigger schools, but again, it's not always the big schools that have the same issues.
Mhm.
You're breaking up a fight, but there's other members. How did that discussion go with you and your officers when something like that happens? Because obviously the initial is to go in and try to break it up, but you also got to be concerned about the surroundings.
Absolutely. And I've told every high school student in the building and junior high, if you decide to engage in any type of fighting like that in one of our schools, there's a full error could neutralize one of those types of fights without using any type of tasers or anything like that. Neutralize a fight like that rather quickly, and then any student that's engaged in that will be probably brought to JDC for disorderly conduct, because at that point my #1 priority is the safety of the kids in that school and the staff in that school. And any kid that decides to engage in that type of activity that puts either those 2 categories in jeopardy of getting hurt, we're going to stop the fight as quickly as we can, and then those kids that took part in that activity will be going to JDC.
You might want to look that up if you haven't seen, because I mean, I don't know how it's shared across the country, but it went viral and I haven't seen it. And basically,
right, or in the schools right now, but I can tell you for a fact in South Bend, it's rampant because fentanyl is used it's used in other drugs such as cocaine, meth, as a cutting agent, and it's going to get. I don't want to sound like a downer, but it's probably going to get worse than it is going to get better because it is a very dangerous drug. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
You talked about the fact that your two predecessors left to go to big companies here.
Mhm.
Raises the question in my mind about how your salary schedule compares with local schedules.
Right.
Yours in South Bend.
Good question. I'm not gonna mince words here. Both Al Delinsky and myself, we've already retired from South Bend, and we were personally, I was looking to get into stay in law enforcement. And that's how, I was all, before I found Concord, I was, looking at Notre Dame and some of the other places that retired police officers go to. Thank goodness I found this place because I absolutely love it. And every retired officer has their own story. And I know since we have the 3 officers within our police department, we have take-home cars. That's a huge plus when it comes to police officers and being able to just drive them back and forth to work. So that was a huge plus. But compensation wise, it just depends on the officer. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Since I seem to know, remember when we got on, like the fight scene with your dad, 'cause his dad was like that when I got on back in 1986. Yeah, that's wrong. But I can say that, first of all, I'm proud of you. I'm doing the same thing with South Beach.
Thank you.
I'm going to schedule a meeting to meet with you, but this is a good young man, good officer, he's got good knowledge. And I just want to say to Concord, they didn't make great support.
Oh, yes, they do. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I can't say enough about Concord and the administration, Dan Funston there. They really, really believe in keeping the kids safe, and it just shows to be a front runner, to be a leader in school policing. It speaks volumes to have the kind of resources that we have and the amount of officers we have available to be full-time in our school. It's a great feeling to have that type of support. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. The parents? Well, again, we can't win over everyone. But my dad said before I even became a policeman, if you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to communicate, then you better not go be a policeman. So I believe in communication and speaking the truth and not mincing words and being as honest and as open as I can. The parents that I come across that, if they're a student that did something bad at school or what have you, and are upset with us in whatever way, it's something that I have already dealt with at South Bend in my years there and being a supervisor. So, but I can tell you the majority of the parents in the corporation, in the school district, they really appreciate us. There's a lot of kind words that come from them and support. So majority of them, absolutely. And the ones that aren't really supportive of it, then I haven't talked to them yet, and they haven't seen my smiling face yet. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So how many incidents are you responding to, maybe on a daily or weekly basis? And of those incidents, how many of them go to counseling or go to enforcement?
Great
Sort of
question.
alluded to, you're trying to counsel or educate.
Right, absolutely.
Sometimes they're also enforcing. So how
Right.
often are you getting called? And of those calls, how often is it just a counseling education piece? or
Right.
How often is it?
Right. We have so many tools in place. And like, for instance, since 2022 started last year, we're currently at case or almost at South Bend. We're currently at 101 criminal cases, but that doesn't mean that all kids committed some type of huge heinous criminal act. That can be, like I mentioned before, the vaping is just out of control. And now with the vaping, now we come THC vaping, which is now coming into our schools. So, there's that, there's the fights, and stuff like that. So on a day-to-day basis, a pretty high percentage of us being in contact with a student for whatever reason. But it doesn't have to necessarily mean that it's a criminal investigation or such. Even if it's a school disciplinary action, we have such a close working relationship with the administrators in each building. And Officer Dolinsky and Officer Schumann are in those buildings 24/7. I'm the only one that kind of goes around to play basketball and football with the little ones. And then if they need help, I'm always there for them. But it's kind of a high percentage of us coming into contact with a student, low percentage when it comes to a criminal type. That answer your question? Pretty cool. Well, then like you said, with the 3 pillars, I always want to be a counselor. I always want to be an educator. Last